Hey everybody, what is up? It's Devin LaVore and
Michelle LaVore
coming at ya. And today, I guess we wanted to probably talk about a hodgepodge of things, right?
Yeah.
Prepare for a hodgepodge video, sharing this and sharing that and sharing this and sharing that. But, so we were going to do a video yesterday, but it didn't turn out super well because, man, it was just a day of contending and dealing with the attack of the enemy. And in the midst of all this stuff going on, you know how God's been teaching us about peace and walking in peace and letting the peace of God, all that stuff. He's just sitting back chilling out. It's kind of that whole sleeping in the boat type of thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, Lord, this is crazy. And so for me yesterday, I kind of took a different approach, you know, because it's like if you want change, you have to change, right? Mm-hmm. Change isn't change until it's changed, right? But you can't get change if you're going to always respond to the same things in the same way and do the same things. And so I just decided, I was like, okay, peace. God's trying to teach us about peace. So I'm not going to get up and rebuke and declare and prophesy and praise. And I'm just like, no, I really feel that the Spirit of God is leading me, not leading me by peace. And I went to a certain place and I just stood there in the midst of all the craziness, and I just stood there and I just allowed the peace of God to kind of take over. Because the scripture says in Colossians 3:15, let the peace of God rule and reign and all that in your hearts, and deciding with finality all the things that arise in your hearts and stuff. So that means you can let it or you can not let it. There's two roads. You can go down the path of peace, where you do not get all of your questions answered. Hello. Or you can go down the path of leaning on your own understanding and frustration and irritation and you can go down that path if you want. And guess what? You're still not going to get, in fact, you're going to get less answers down that way. Because if it's your soul going crazy and the enemy's attacking you, you're going to use your soul to try to answer questions that your soul is asking. You know, it just doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. So it's like, no, I'm going to take the path of peace. Why is the path of peace best? Because it's the path of faith. It's the path of trust. It's the path that says, you know what, God, I have no idea, but you know everything, and I'm just going to attach myself to you. And you're going to take care of it all. So there's peace there. There's absolutely peace there. And so...
So then there's the good way of dealing with
the Jedi way. Now let's talk about the Sith way.
Thanks. I'm a Sith.
Hey, you got a red lightsaber. It's cool looking.
Yeah.
Anyway, your turn.
So, or you could take the method I did, which was pretty much the opposite of that. And I was ready to just fight and just, I was just angry and upset.
You were ready to fight and throw in the towel all at the same time.
Yeah. Well, the morning I was ready to fight. The evening was the throw in the towel. So mind you, this did not happen just once. I mean, the attacks have been, for me, just kind of relentless. They just keep coming. Like for the last week, I mean, it has been, I feel like just...
It's been for a while, actually, right?
Yeah.
You want to know why? Because God put you on program.
Yeah.
He's trying to develop in you and show you who you really are, and so that you can come in alignment with Him and rise up, you know, and do that Isaiah 52 thing where you put on your own strength. You put on your strength. Mm-hmm. You put on. No one can put on your strength for you.
Yeah.
You know, you have to do it yourself. And some of us are just not used to that.
Yeah.
I had to learn it. We all have to learn it.
Yeah, and it's very similar for me many years ago now. But when we first got married, and I really did not like doing the dishes.
That is so hilarious. That's a very nice understatement. It's a very kind way of saying
I did not. I
like.
would try. I would avoid them as much as possible. I did not like doing the dishes. I really just loathed it, I guess.
Girlfriend would take like a great big, psycho hatchet knife to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Just
because there was no clean.
Do dishes.
Because there was no clean knives. She'd be like, slap.
Why are you using that?
That peanut butter and jelly is hacked to pieces. What are you doing? It's like, I don't want to wash a dish. It's like, they're just right there. Just wash them.
So, needless to say, eventually I was, after, I think once I was home with Joa.
Once you had to.
And once right. I had to do the dishes, and let me just tell you, there were tears over doing the dishes. I know some of you might be like, are you serious? Like, that's ridiculous.
And some of them I'm like, how did you overcome it? Because I'm right there, girl. I am right there.
But it really was, there was just something about it that I felt like I was being punished. I felt there was just a lot of things that bubbled up out of it. And ultimately, I just had to keep doing the dishes and doing the dishes and doing the dishes.
A lot of erroneous ideas.
Yeah. And I mean, I would just, I'm serious. Like, I would cry over the fact that I was doing the dishes. And I felt like it was unfair. And, like, I hated it. And, but it was like God had put me on this program, and this was back, we didn't have a dishwasher at the time, so I was hand washing the dishes, and you know how dishes are, they just always come back, and and so it was just like, so it was probably 3-4 years of doing that, and then we when we moved to Kansas City, then we did get a dishwasher, but I was still like, okay, I gotta get the dishes done, but as time went on, it's like, now, there are times when I'm just like, I don't want to do the dishes, but who doesn't, have moments where you're just like,
you don't feel like doing it.
I don't feel like doing it, but it doesn't produce the same feelings that it did before. Now it's just kind of like, okay, they just have to get done. Like, whatever. I'm going to go do the dishes and we're good to go. And it's not this huge, like, heart-wrenching thing, which, like, sometimes it's like, well, that's silly. Like, why would that? But for me, it really was. And so God just kind of grew me up and matured me in that. So I feel like the peace thing is very, very, very much the same. And it's been really difficult for me. There's been a lot of crying. There's been a lot of just, like,
stuff being
frustrating, frustration. Yeah. And again, like, it just keeps coming and keeps coming and keeps coming. And it's like, this is so, they're like the dishes that keeps coming. And it's like, I did the dishes this morning and there's a whole pile by the night. And I'm like, can we just go to paper plates and never have a dish again?
Those run out real quick. They really do.
But it's like, but I know that God is doing something good. And it's really painful when you have stuff stirred up. It's really painful when you're going through change. And, it's like, because it's unfamiliar, you're going into places you haven't gone before. And so that there is this, like, kind of a pain attached to it. And,
because there's unresolved heart issues there.
Yeah.
There's unresolved stuff there. And it's like, it actually is familiar to you. And therefore, you generally will respond to those things in a familiar way that will probably just result in pushing it down or ignoring it or not dealing with it, not bringing it to a point of resolution where you don't have to deal with it again, right?
Yeah, because it's mainly like like the peace of God right now, it really is focused on confronting, really confrontation with the enemy.
Isn't that interesting? Peace is confrontational.
Yeah. It's kind of funny.
But anything of God is confrontational to that which is not of God.
Yeah.
Right?
And so that's really the area that God has honed in. And it's just odd in the sense that, I felt like I had a lot of peace when we were in Indianapolis, like when God was exposing like the spirit of witchcraft and all of that. And
post-trauma, there was like plenty of peace. Yeah.
I'm like, but even before, like even during
that time,
there was levels of anxiety, but there were certain moments where it was just like, all right, we're just letting the peace of God rule. But it's different, I think, now because I don't know, it's just a totally different arena. Yeah. But still being able to walk in peace when things come up, when situations arise that can cause a conflict really with how I view God, how I see Him, and what is He doing, how is He moving in my life, and just also with the attack of the enemy, because that's really what it's been. And so yesterday morning you had said, I forget exactly what you said, but it was really good. Oh, it was talking about just how like in the morning, our morning session, I feel like God has me on 2-a-days. And
woo, man, He's really making you into something awesome. Wonder Woman.
And so
I just dated myself there with that song.
In the morning.
People were like, what? 20-year-olds are like, what are you talking about? Wonder Woman. I don't remember that song being in Wonder Woman. You got to know your Linda Carter years, okay?
Yeah. She was pretty awesome. And so in the morning, though, it was kind of this revelation of like, I can have a hard time with, I just start putting up defenses, and because there's like...
And do you consciously put those up, or do they just pop up?
They just pop up.
Right.
And it's
like...
pop-ups. Because when you're being attacked, then it's like, gotta put this up, gotta save myself kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I was getting so frustrated because here was Devin. He's just like, I'm at peace. I'm just like, I am not. How can you be at peace? And why can't we just do things this? And I think for me, I have a really hard time because I'm like, well, why can't it be a certain way? Yeah. And it's not that way.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't get it. I don't understand. And like Devin said, you're not going to get your answers all the time. God will give you some answers, but sometimes He just won't, because He knows it's not going to really help your heart issue. But
it would be a waste of information sometimes, even though maybe even a valid question.
Yeah.
God's like, it has literally nothing to do with anything going on in your life right now.
Yeah. So there was just, we were talking in the kitchen area, and Devin was just like, kind of just helped me realize like why it is that it's so hard for me to like let the guard down. And he was talking about it's because it's like I'll feel like, well, if I let it down, then this bully that's been coming at me relentlessly, I feel like it's admitting like I'm defeated, or that
I have to let him.
I have to just
beat me up and be okay with it.
He's just gonna do what he does, and I just have to stand here and take it. And really, the truth is, it's like when you let your guard down, you're really letting God in.
Yeah, the exact opposite happens.
And so then once you've allowed God to come in, He can change the situation. He can actually protect you. And, He can put this bubble shield around you from the enemy. And it's literally the opposite of what you think it's going to be. And so that was just really good. And that was my morning session. It was literally like a whole session, like an hour or more.
It seemed like things went well.
Yeah.
And then the nighttime came.
And then nighttime came, and it was just like...
After God time, the kids are in bed,
yeah,
all that.
I mean, it was just brutal.
You got waylaid.
And again, it was just...
And then I ministered to you. I mean, I was like... It was a very unconventional way that God was moving through me in that moment. I was just like, listen, lady... Normally I would be nice to you, but we are done with this mess. Okay? Yeah. How long are you going to do this? How long? I mean, I was Jillian Michaels, step aside. You think Jillian Michaels is harsh to our Biggest Loser contestants? Yeah. I was just like, no, this is not going to work. You need to overcome this.
Yeah.
And I was just like, bam, 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 bam. And take that, bam. But I think it helped.
It did.
I think it helped. It was just shake you up.
Yeah.
You know?
And
I just wanted to rattle your cage.
Thanks, Mater.
It's Dale Earnhardt. But anyway, yeah, Mater, same thing. Go ahead.
But it was just, I don't know, like, again, just getting hit with just a lot of discouragement, a lot of...
It was supernatural discouragement.
Of just like, wow, Lord, you know, yeah, it was just a really down in the dumps place. And, but, you know, we were just talking and then we got to a point where it was just like, you know, and you really do just have to, it is a submitting to the Lord thing, which I think can be hard in the sense of you really just have to push aside your emotions. And if you're anything like me, your emotions are very, very intense. Like I'm the kind of person that cries at Hallmark commercials, but I feel a lot.
Yeah.
But because of that, a lot of times my feelings will dictate what I believe is true. And that's really a very... It's not a healthy place to be. Sure. Because...
Well, and the enemy wants to get you to that place and keep you in that place.
Yeah.
It's a prison. It's a bondage. A baby's coming.
And so, I think sometimes... Yeah, we had to go get to bed. But, it was just like... Just, like, submitting yourself and, you know... It like Devin was just like, you want to just pray? Let's just pray. And I was just like, I got nothing. So you
barely whispered.
Yeah. So Devin was just like, all right, well, just repeat what I'm saying, you know. And as I was repeating, it was just, and it really literally was like I was just like whispering things out because I was just so like down. But as I continued, then it was like, okay, like you start to get a breath, you start to breathe again, and you know, and then it's just like.
Well, let me tell them what turned the things around,
yeah.
Right? Because a lot of times what happens is we entertain the idea of giving up, you know? Mm-hmm. And we go... And then when we're in that place of wanting to give up, it's like, you know, a lot of us came out with that word about the enemy has been and is attacking the very area that God is breathing upon. And then you take that and you want to scrutinize it and you want to go, well, is that really for us? Is that really how do you receive that? I don't know. And then it's all that, it's like over scrutinizing. You know, kind of like what intellectuals do with the gospel who never really want to believe in Jesus to begin with. And so I was just like, I just got this idea. And I was like, Michelle, let's say Annalise, our daughter, was laid up in a hospital bed. And she had a horrible report spoken over her about her life and all that stuff. What would you do? Would you be praying for her? Yes.
Yeah.
Would you, let's say the Lana Vossers, Ryan Lestranges, and Jennifer LeClaire's and the Jolyn Whitakers of life came along and said, hey, this is what God is speaking over your daughter. And it's totally opposite what the doctors are saying. Would you give that same level of scrutiny of, I don't know, if this is that the Lord? Would you give that? Or would you be like, man, I believe you are hearing from the Lord. I'm going to grab a hold of that thing and I'm going to begin to pray. I'm going to begin to declare. I'm going to begin to say whatever it is you're telling me to say because you believe it's from the Lord. I really feel it from the Lord too. So, man, I'm going to give it my all. You would be praying, you would be fasting, you'd be seeking the Lord, you'd be holding on to those prophetic words, you'd be just going after it because my daughter is going to live.
Yeah.
And I really felt like when I spoke that, it was like your eyes just was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. And it's like, well, right now, at this point of our lives, what God is doing, what God is fashioning us into is way more than just a prayer for your daughter.
Yeah.
You know, it's a prayer for your whole family. It's a prayer for the entire region of Nashville that we live in. It is a prayer for the entire planet because God is birthing a new thing. Mm-hmm. He's doing a new thing. He's raising up people who he can find faithful, who will go through some of the deepest darkness, shadow of death stuff and still maintain their light, still confess the truth, still intentionally engage with the truth of God and see the miraculous thing happen. I remember Dean Sherman, he told a story about how they prayed and prayed and prayed for their friend who was in a hospital bed over and over and over and just over and over and over again. They're praying and they're just wondering why the miracle just didn't happen. But they're just like, no, we believe this is going to happen. We believe it. And they would just go through all the same stuff that other people go through when they're contending for a miracle. And it did happen. Mm-hmm. It actually happened. But the bottom line is they had to go through some really tough stuff, some actually really dark moments of just like, oh my gosh, he's going to die. And there's really nothing we can do about it. But there's someone in there that stepped up and was like, no, we have our miracle. You're going to get your miracle. You're gonna, you know what I mean? And it's like, that's where we're at as a body of Christ. That's where we're at, not just as a family, but as a body of Christ. It's like, you are going to get your miracle. Confess it. Say it with me. I am going to get my miracle. God has a plan and a purpose for me. And to get the miracle, to get everything that we need is just the beginning of what God's going to birth, what he's birthing, what he's doing, and how he's going to begin facilitating his move, his kingdom, the expansion of his gospel throughout the earth. Yeah. Because the gospel right now is dead. It's, you know, I mean, I wish I could tell you some stuff to just kind of bring it home, but it's like when you have leaders and pastors and other people doing some of the most heinous, ridiculous things that no one even knows about. I'm talking about Ezekiel type stuff in the secret sin type stuff. It's like, no one's out there really preaching the gospel. No one's out there really living it. And I'm not going to say no one, because that's another one of those blanket statement type things that I did in one of my other videos that I wish I could have gone back. But it's like, is the gospel of Jesus, is the wonder and awe and the majesty of Jesus and the fun of Jesus, is it really being out there, being displayed to the world? Not really. And it's like God knows the truth, and he's fashioning us to be able to be those lights to the world. And now one of the things that I also wanted to talk about was the testing that God has been taking us through. Yeah. Can we talk about that, or did you want to?
Yeah, I just wanted to add something too. Yeah. It's just like, that's the idea of why we so desperately need to be a body of Christ, because we need to encourage one another. I mean, the Bible always talks about like encouraging one another. Why? Because sometimes
you switch positions.
Oh. You know, there are times when you do feel discouragement, and you need somebody to be able to come and speak life into you, and be like, hey.
To revive you.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we really need that for one another. And it's really, I mean, part of why we do what we do is that we want to be an encouragement to the body. We want you guys to to be encouraged really from the Lord and just what He's doing in our life. But I don't know, just when you were talking about that, you know, how you were able to help me, it was just like, that's exactly why we need the body. That's exactly why we need to encourage one another, because we are in a battle. We are in a fight that is not going to end until Jesus returns. And
that's a difficult thing to find, because you go to church and you can't find it. You go to another church and you can't find it. You go to another church and, well, they don't believe in that gifts of the Spirit, and you can't find it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You go to people who you think actually get you and are supposed to be friends, and you actually don't find it. And then what you do find there is really weird and wicked and nasty and demonic. I mean, I'm just saying, like, this is normal, like, not normal, but this is typical Christian experience right now.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, you should be going to church, and where? Tell me where to go. And I'm not trying to go on a tangent here, but it's just like, you know, it's hard to find. And I think the Lord knows that. And it's like what Ryan Lestrange came out in his Monday Word today about, he's heard the cries of his people.
Yeah.
He's heard the cries of those who really, really want to fellowship. They want to have that koinonia and fellowship of the Spirit with other believers, but you just can't find it.
Yeah.
All you find are those religious structures, the thing that he talked about in his Word. That's literally all that's out there. And it's like, even in the great big mega churches that are all about they're famous. They are so on point with God. Dry, dead, boring. Yeah. When you go and actually be in those places, you go, man, this is not at all what the TV and everything and the hype says it is. It's like, it's not at all that. Yeah. It is so unbelievably dry, and like, no one wants to even get to know you unless you're doing their thing. But even then, it's just like, how do you develop a relationship with the body of Christ when they're saying, we only do this, and if you're not doing this, we're not going to talk to you?
Yeah.
It's like, wow, we need some help.
It's bad. Like, we have to remember, in a way, it's like God has called us to be pioneers. And like,
pioneering is lonely.
It is. I mean, if you think about it, pioneers, they were the ones that established the towns.
Yep.
And they didn't go, and they weren't greeted by all these people or, hey, welcome to our town. Like, you know, you've made it here. It's like, no, there's a lot of just forging. There is a lot of like tearing down. And so I think, but I do believe, like, for our lives and for others that are in, you know, that are pioneers, that God He has strategic relationships that He wants to have us, He's going to bring in connection, because you really, really need it.
We really do.
And,
we really do, man. It's just like,
but it is like, I think sometimes it's like reminding ourselves, like, okay, you're not going to find those relationships in any of those places, because you're pioneers. You've left the city. You've left those places, and you're on this whole different journey off the map for God. And
little kid song we used to listen to a lot.
And so, you know, a lot of times, you know, when they journeyed, they found the bears and the wolves, and they didn't find a lot of, there wasn't those relationships. But
it was hard to eat.
Yeah, but it's like, I think
it was hard to find shelter that was safe from wolves and bears and lions and tigers. Oh my.
Yeah. But it's like God, He is going to provide exactly what we need when we need it.
So, talking about the testing of the Lord, we realized lately, since we've been in this place, which we actually have to leave by tomorrow, but we realize that God's been, through this whole peace training, God's been doing, and the whole seek me and first love and all that, just being with Him, and that's all there is to it. There's been a lot of testing in the sense of like, is your life about this destination and this breakthrough and this promise fulfilled? Is it? Okay, I'm going to test you and see if that's true.
Yeah.
You know, is your life about this thing over here? Okay, I'm going to test it and see if that's true. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the truth of the matter is that God has to do that. He has to know that your heart is completely and totally His. You know? Are you going to start up like what He did with Abraham? This was So like, well, how long after he had already had the promise, he still tested him to see, is your heart still mine?
Yeah.
Do you still belong to me? Am I still your one and only? And he proved it, like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because God will take us through a lot of things that don't make sense. And it's just like, this doesn't make any sense to me. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't understand what's going on and why it's going on. But God, you have to always know that, like I did in that one video of the trust, delight, commit, and rest. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like you just have to do that. You have to trust that he knows what he's doing and he's operating off of information that he knows and he understands. And then just delight in the fact that he has got you and that he's leading your life. And then you commit what you want to do and what you want to see happen to him. And then you just rest in it.
Yeah.
You just rest in it and have peace in it. And it's like, you know, it's like I haven't been writing at all. And I'm just like, Lord, I don't understand. I'm supposed to be writing, but I just know, like, all of a sudden, now you're telling me to hold off on it. That doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. But it's like, whatever, Lord, I'm fine. And then for me, that's kind of been a test.
Yeah.
Because I've been, like, wanting to, like, okay, because I know it's going to happen. And it's like how the enemy tested Jesus. He tested him on things that he was actually called to do and would do later on. Mm-hmm. But God was like, or Jesus was like, I see that it's you, enemy, that's actually trying to get me to do that. I'm not going to listen to you.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, the miracle working power, who I am, all of that, I will receive all the worlds and everything. That's going to happen, but it's not going to be because I'm going to do it your way.
Yeah.
I'm going to wait on God's timing, on the Father's timing, and then things are going to happen that way, you know? And then, so it's like, I already know that I'm going to write and the vision that God's given me. But it's like, I'm going to do it God's way, you know? So I think this is going to come to an end here. Yeah. And so I think what God is saying is like, he just is training us. He's taking us through lots of training. And he wants to know that our hearts truly belong to him. Give them a toy. They'll be quiet. But yeah, God just wants us to know, he wants to know that our hearts belong to him. And that's part of the training. It's part of the testing of the pillars. He has got to know. Listen, pillars must be tested more than anything. Yeah. More than any other part of the house. Because he is going to set a lot on the pillars. Yeah. The integrity of those pillars must be without flaw. Yeah. They must be. Or that little crack, that little tear, that little sin issue, that little secret thing that you think you're hiding from everyone else, and you put on a commercial smile for everyone else, God knows what's really going on there. Yeah. And it's like, you can pretend with other people, you're not going to pretend with me. Yeah. And it's like, for those of us who know the Lord, it's like he's got to know for himself. I know that sounds weird, but he's got to know for himself that we can be trusted. Yeah. You know? And so whatever test he's taking you through, whatever, always be listening to the Lord and allow that peace of God to decide to go left or right or straight ahead or whatever, you know?
And I think it's important too, like with the testing, I was just reminded of when you were talking about how it's like you don't always know why God's doing what he's doing. And it's like the whole Karate Kid thing. You know, he's like wax on, wax off, and he's getting angry with all these things that he perceives as having nothing to do with his heart's desire.
With what he was supposed to be teaching him. It's like, Miyagi, you're supposed to be teaching me karate. I have waxed and buffed like 30 of your cars. Yeah. Like, I'm sure I have paid for some lessons. I need at least to learn something. Yeah. You know? But how often do we get like that with God? You know?
Yeah, and I just think that, you know, there are things that he's like, here, you know, you've given God the desire of your heart. And so now he's like, okay, I want you to do this. It's like, well, what does that have to do with what I want? I don't understand. Like, why are you taking me through these courses? Why are you doing the things that you're doing? But the truth is, there will come a time when it will just be like it was in Karate Kid, where he realized
that point of revelation.
You have been teaching me this the whole time.
The whole time. I ate the whole plate.
Yeah.
The whole plate. I'm not even going to edit that part out.
And so it just, I think that's important. I think keeping a good perspective of the fact that God, what he does, always has purpose and intent. He does not do anything just because. Just
seek me for nothing.
Yeah.
Isaiah 45:19.
And it's like what God does in our lives and in our hearts, he is doing for a reason and for a purpose. And it is always ultimately, it's for our good. It's for our embetterment of just like our relationship with him.
Yeah.
You know, because his desire is to be as close to us as he can be. But through that, there's just a lot of processes that have to take place because he
wants to trust us. He wants that transfer of wealth and all that stuff and the greater revelations of who he is. He wants to be able to entrust us with that. So all that to say, after this super long video, because we normally do short videos, but for those of you who don't know us very well, but that's a joke. But all of that to just say, like, don't give up.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as giving up.
Yeah.
That's like giving up on your daughter who's on a hospital bed dying. And your prayers are the only thing that are going to save her.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're going to give up and be super scrutinous about that. Scrutinous? I'm going to just keep that there. But it's like, don't give up. You know we got to go because of this. But anyway, guys, we love you so much, and we appreciate your support. Yes, we are still kind of going from place to place. We're praying for a breakthrough. We're praying for that tipping point breakthrough. We're always praying for that.
Yeah.
But it's like we're just leading the lives that God wants us to lead, and we're in constant need of support, and we thank you guys for your support.
Yeah.
And we're in constant need of prayers and we will always try to keep you guys updated on what's going on and what God's saying, and because that's kind of like what we do on this channel. Holla!
Yeah. So, I guess until next time, guys, we will see you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Love ya. Let us know what you think. Bye-bye.